One of the things that makes me glad to live in Canada as opposed to the United States, and that makes other Canadians glad as well, is that during the global financial collapse, it was not necessary for us to bail out our banks. Well, actually, information has come out now that we actually did. According to the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, Canadian banks actually got $114 billion in bank bailouts, which we previously were not aware of. They were very silently done and not really told about us in the media. Now, previously Canada's banks have been lauded as being the safest. I mean, after all, we were sitting here looking kind of smug. We didn't have the massive trillions in bailouts that the US did, and we were kind of looking at Europe going, you know, thank God we don't have to deal with any of that. So we were looking pretty smug and pretty arrogant there for a while, and we're toting our own self-superiority. Well, reality just gave us a hell of a bitch slap. Now, David McDonald of the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives has released a report, given it to the CBC and everyone else, that lets us know that we were not as well off as we thought we were. Now, we did regulate our banks a hell of a lot better than anybody else did, thus we thought we were in a better position. Now, by comparison, of course, $114 billion in a bailout is a hell of a lot less than what the United States has went through, and is a hell of a lot less than what Europe is going through right now. Now, data has been examined by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, so we'd have a better picture of what it is that was actually going on at this time. Now, this is the information that was given to the CBC. It says support for Canadian banks from various agencies reached $114 billion at its peak. That works out to $3,400 for every man, woman, and child in Canada, and also to 7% of Canada's gross domestic product in 2009. The figure is also 10 times the amount Canadian taxpayers spent on the auto industry in 2009. At some point during the crisis, 3 of Canada's banks, CIBC, BMO, and Scotiabank, were completely underwater, with government support exceeding the market value of the company, McDonald said. Without government support to fall back on, Canadian banks would have been in serious trouble. During October 2008 and June 2010, the banks combined to report $27 billion in profits on their balance sheets. Although despite what has happened with the bank bailouts, they are very quick to remind us, and I would like to remind you as well, that at least with our regulation, we did a lot better than the United States or Europe actually did. In the United States, 436 U.S. banks failed as a result of the collapse, while none in Canada actually did. And as opposed to Europe, we did not require central bank liquidity to support our system the way that they've had to go through. So we are in a much better situation than the other first world nations. So we in Canada did actually do a better job of taking care of our banking financial industry than either Europe or the United States. But that is absolutely no reason to start to get smug. After all, this bank bailout was pretty much done without our knowledge. From what I've heard, the bailout that was given to the auto industry, the bailout to our financial sector, was just kind of tacked on and very quietly pushed through, pretty much almost without even our knowledge. So while there is cause to celebrate that we ended up not being as bad as the United States or Europe, we still did subsidize our own rich. And after all, this is an act by the ruling class against us, taking the money of the working people and giving it to the people who already have everything. So there is, to a large degree, some justified outrage that should come because of this. But knowing us as Canadians, we're not actually going to get mad about this. We'll grumble about it for a little while and then completely forget about it. One of the weaknesses that's part of being Canadian. We as a nation need to start paying a hell of a lot more attention to what's going on and how much our ruling class is actually screwing us. A lot of this has gone completely unnoticed due to the robocall scandals with the Conservatives and the whole F-35 jet scandal that has also come up. We need to remind ourselves, we are in Conservative hands, so we should not expect anything different. So long as this Conservative government continues to exist, the ruling class will still have its entire power over us. Even if we do vote Liberal or we do vote NDP, they are still going to have that power. But at least at no point do they feel the need to absolutely subvert what little democracy we have in our elections. And only true Canada can actually come up once the capitalist class has actually been abolished from our society. Unfortunately, this country, being as apathetic as it actually is, that is a very long way away from happening.